God, what kind of fun energy do I have to get things moving?
I gotcha. So it's time. I didn't intend for this to become a regular segment. I'm not even sure if this is something we've been talking about on our regular podcast or on our bonus podcast, but it's time for a new segment of Orville Peck Watch.
Oh, all right. Well, and because it's a time for a new segment of Orville Peck Watch, that means you are obviously listening to your favorite podcast about the television series, The Big Bang Theory. That being this show called The Big Bang Theory. Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Kyle.
And sometimes we watch a stupid TV show. Tell me more about Orville Peck.
Yeah. So this is just, I didn't even bother to confirm this. I just saw it on Facebook and I'm going to assume it's true, which is that they're casting for a new Street Fighter movie reboot, and Orville Peck has been cast in an undisclosed role. And so I was racking my head for all of I was embarrassed by how long it took me to figure out who Orville Peck would have to be playing if they were casting him in a Street Fighter movie. Because there's really only one character he could be.
Blanca.
Which is, right? It's like, if you're gonna cast Orville Peck it's gotta be the one character who always wears a mask and never takes it off and is obsessed with his physical appearance and protecting his face.
Who is Vega, by the way? Blanca was my joke answer. But yes, Vega.
Right, I got them all confused.
Or as he's known in international fighting game tournaments, Claw.
Is that true? Is he just Claw?
Oh, yeah. So, hey, as we also sometimes talk about in our Patreon feed that is not part of this podcast, but is technically our bonus content in the Street Fighter games, because between the US and Japanese versions, M. Bison, Vega, and Balrog's names are all flipped around.
Well, no, that I knew about. That one makes sense to me.
Right. Well, if you knew that, then the solution, so there's not ambiguity as to which character you're talking about between versions, they are generically referred to as a Boxer, Claw, and Dictator.
Actually, maybe I didn't. So who is Vega in the Japanese version?
Vega is the final boss Dictator guy, who we call M. Bison.
That doesn't... Why?
Because he's the big, bright, shining, terrifying star, he's the... And then Vega, as we call him, is Balrog, which is a Spanish name. And then...
Balrog is not a Spanish name.
Balrog?
No, Balrog is a demonic name.
It's that also, for sure.
Are you sure?
And then M. Bison is it was a parody in Japan of Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that one makes sense to me. So the way I'd always heard it is just that Balrog and M. Bison's names were switched, and Vega was still Vega, which made perfect sense to me, because Vega is still a Spanish name.
It's all three of them are flipperood. And so, hey, look, we're learning about Orville Peck and how to appropriately discuss the three final bosses from the original Street Fighter if you're playing in an international setting. Welcome to the Big Bang Theory.
Okay, I can't let this go yet. I gotta research this, because this is driving me nuts. Why would it be just because he's he's supposed to represent like a South American dictator? He's supposed to be like a Che Guevara type guy?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. First of all, in the Japanese game, I don't know if he even has an actual original nationality, because you fight him in Thailand, but that's also where you fight Sagat, the bad guy from the first game, who is the penultimate fight in Street Fighter 2. But he's, trying to create his own terrorist organization, nation state of Shadowloo, but I don't think he has any actual traditional nationality.
Famously, that's right. His nationality is a mystery, because his whole background is a mystery, which is why giving him the name Vega, which does sound vaguely like Hispanic, See,
that's where disagree.
Fucks my head up.
Is Vega not a star? A literal star?
Maybe so. Maybe, to be fair, the reason I think of Vega as Hispanic is because my entire life I've associated it with the Matador ninja from Spain. So
Sorry to be shredding your mind apart right here on the podcast, but this is the kind of
this is the
stuff. Real shit we get into.
So it looks like in Arabic, Vega does mean falling eagle or swooping eagle, but the name Vega is also a Spanish word for meadow, which is where we get the word Las Vegas from.
Well, that is news to me. Well, now we're learning more. We're getting deeper. Is the Clawman from Las Vegas? And when you fight him in Street Fighter 2, is because he's traveling to Spain as part of his big show.
No, he's definitely from Spain. I think he's Castilian Spanish, even. The super blonde Spanish guys. Castellan, however you say it.
Catalan, maybe? Is that? I don't know. Anyway, by the way, have you ever? I promise we'll get to talking to the show, but the only reason I was willing to go some ways on being maybe I don't know as much as I think it is, most of my Street Fighter lore comes actually from the non-canonical but blatantly superior anime adaptation Street Fighter 2 V, which was a fantastic fucking anime if you've never seen it, and sort of tries to make all of the characters slightly more realistic. So they do eventually introduce the concept of Hado into the show, but but even then it's something that only Ken and Ryu ever learn how to do and takes a lot of training to unlock, and is so weird that they can do it that they get kidnapped and studied for it. All of the other characters who appear do not have key magic powers. They're just very, very good martial artists. And then they cut out characters who blatantly Blanca is not in it, although Bison is, and he is the only other character who has weird magic abilities. Well, he has the Psycho Power, of course. We all know about the Psycho Power, the one that lets him have purple chaos terror fists, and that let him do his, I can't believe, I'm forgetting the name of it, his
Psycho Dive?
Well, it's Psycho Crusher.
That sounds right.
The one that goes across screen that is his trademark move. And in the Street Fighter 2 movie, his gravity-defying powers are represented by electromagnetic boots.
Which made sense to me. I actually thought that was perfectly fine in the grand scheme of things. I thought that was a clever way to make him fly.
Oh, I don't think it's awful, but just that's how they chose to interpret it, of all the things that could be ridiculous. No, magical psychic powers would be stupid. He has techno boots.
Yes. How does Raul Julia say it? He's it levitates my tanks. It levitates my trains. It levitates me. And then he floats up in the air like fucking, Bison.
He's a cool guy.
And then Jean-Claude Van Damme, does the flipping, the full 360 roundhouse somersault kick and knocks him into a fucking television and he dies.
I wonder how many times that's happened. I was going to say to Jean-Claude Van Damme, but more realistically, or more accurately, how many times Jean-Claude Van Damme has happened to other people where their interaction has concluded with him, flip kicking them into a wall of televisions. Because it can't be just in that movie. They probably wrote it into that movie because they were working with Jean-Claude Van Damme. Guile doesn't do that in the video games.
Yeah, they're well, we were at a bar the other day and a guy pissed him off and he just did this and it gave us a great idea for how to end this fucking movie. It's gonna rule.
Which, by the way, I've been trying very modestly to get good at Street Fighter, but I seem to be having a lot of online connection problems, and I can't tell if it's because I'm legitimately misunderstanding some sort of little option somewhere in all of the settings, or sometimes it'll happen right after the first round, and I'm wait, did I go from terrible to making other terrible people rage quit? Is that what happened here?
Or could it be that you live in Montana, which has the infrastructure of geriatric drunk person?
Hey, I live in the tech hub that was put together by that geriatric person. So, some ancient miner laid down the Ethernet cables in the late 1800s, and we still use them to this day.
Well, I am sorry that my Orville Peck watch got us so in the weeds, and I take full responsibility for not letting the Vega thing go. which is gonna bother me for a while. But I will, because it just made sense to me that Bison would be Balrog, because Balrog is, to me, is like the big floaty scary demon from Balrog, and them being named Balrog and Akuma respectively, which are basically just like demon monster in two different languages, was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. But obviously I overthought it, and now I've gotten us way in the weeds. In the middle of our podcast.
You apologize. I feel like this is something where maybe I apologize for it too. What else do we do on this dumb show? What else does anyone want us to do? Are you worried about like, crap, like what? This is time we're not talking about Wallowitz. This is what we do. And also I looked at Balrog and I could find no confirmation that's a name outside of the Lord of the Rings thing. So if that's not actually a direct reference, then I have no other explanation for it. We've done it. We've broken down all the top 3 Street Fighter names. Also, they put Elena back in the game, and she was always my favorite, and that's the reason I want to get good again. She kicks a lot. She's a kicker. Okay. We should talk about a thing, I guess. I don't know. Do you have any other feelings about Orville Peck? I saw someone recently with an Orville Peck shirt, and I wanted to say, hey, cool Orville Peck shirt. I bet you're gay. Because the first part of that would probably be okay. The second part would be really inappropriate, but it turned out correct. And it was a right inference to make. And I should have reached out about the Orville Peck connection first, and now I feel silly. I don't know if you have the same Orville Peck drama. In that
shirt, you should be like, hey, you've seen the new... you've seen clips of him in Cabaret, or you hear he's going to be, depending on your language, the Spanish assassin from the Street Fighter franchise?
No, that would be my classic move, is I see someone with an Orville Peck shirt, and I'm like, oh, so you like Vega from Street Fighter, right? Like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, you're telling me you don't know? You don't know everything Orville Peck does? You don't know him outside of his movies and his current role, particularly the one that's most pertinent to my interests? Yeah, I bet you can't even do his level 3 super. Which I bring up because this guy I know, Nick Hyde, for his entire life is actually kind of frustrated and insecure that he can't do Vegas level 3 super. It's like this weird. Same thing with Guile's level 3. These charge characters, they make their super moves more complicated to make up for it, I guess. I don't know. God, man. And then everyone's mean to Sheldon this episode, and it sucks. That's the episode we saw. They don't invite him to a trip. This is... If you actually want to listen to anything about the television show we watched, today we watched the 13th episode of the 9th season, officially titled The Empathy Optimization, and the official, unofficially fan summary for this one reads, the gang decides to head to Vegas for a Sheldon-free weekend on a party bus. Sheldon learns about the importance of empathy and saying sorry, though his apologies tend to backfire. It's so, okay, is part of this about Sheldon needing to apologize? Absolutely. It's like apparently, and there's a bit of it shown, but the idea is that before the episode begins, we're almost at the conclusion of what was apparently a real stinky fit of Sheldon being sick and everyone trying to be very caring and nurturing to him, and him responding to all of this with petulant childlike abuse. And so now that... So that's, technically, if you had an A plot, that might be it. But then what the episode really is about is everyone around Sheldon is so miserable putting up with him for this week of, or more, however long it was, of convalescence, that they're like, Jesus, all of us, literally everyone on the show except for Sheldon, really needs a break from Sheldon, and so let's go on a trip to Vegas without Sheldon. And then the whole, and first of all, I think that shit just sucks. It's hard for me to, not get over that basic issue, because it's like, I know that you're all sick of your friend, and you all want to, have fun, but knowing that it's like, oh, the entire friend group, except for you, the one we're annoyed with, we would otherwise totally be doing this, and they could bring up the obvious thing that I think could be weird, that's even strange for Amy to admit, is that oh, well, if Amy's not coming, it'd be weird for just you to come. You guys are a couple, right? But even Amy's not around this episode. She's staying extra long at a conference because Sheldon was so goddamned annoying when he was sick that she doesn't want to come home yet. And so the episode really ends up being about this trip that Sheldon is aware of, and his tension between, well, I guess I should apologize to my friends for being so shitty and try to, like, actively work on my empathy. So that's, hey, that's a good thing. But it's also, like, left hanging over his head the whole time about whether these apologies mean that he will actually make it on the Vegas trip, and more importantly, whether that's what it's really all about to begin with, right? Shouldn't he just mean it? And then Emily, you know, the girl that they keep, I don't know, locked away in, like, a normal job outside of Hollywood until they need to, like, have Raj have some sort of intimate relationship drama again. She's back in the episode. She refuses Sheldon's apology because she doesn't... It's not that she doesn't think it's insincere. She thinks it's shitty because Sheldon always brings up other things to complain about. But even later, as everyone is, like, literally getting on the party bus to go to Vegas, Sheldon snuck on with Stuart, you know, the only character pathetic enough to follow him around, and does finally give, like, not like a better, but, like, maybe like a more thorough apology to Emily, which is like, hey, my last apology may seem shitty because I pointed out all these other weird things you don't like, but I swear to God, I'm not trying to be mean, and it's gonna happen again. Like, please understand. I am sorry. I'm just awful. And I think that's as close to, you know, reality and acceptance any of them are going to get. And that's really kind of the whole episode. Except for this, like, the last 30 seconds where Sheldon's like, oh no, you should all go without me. I wouldn't enjoy it anyway. Oh, wait, you guys want me to go with you? Well, I could consider it. No. I'm above it because I understand you sincerely have more fun without me. And then everyone else feeling so bad that they insist he comes anyway, and he breaks down and goes along. And so, I don't know. It's like, this didn't bother me in a way where I'm like, this is offensive or anything. But, like, the whole episode, I was like, y'all are gambling with, like, whether or not you're going to include Sheldon in something that is so obviously a part of a group he is in. And, like, whether or not it's acceptable to, like, engage in this all against one shunning thing that, you know, even though they, like, might make some development as far as Sheldon, you know, like, literally actively practicing his empathy skills, or, like, you know, what it means to, like, make good with the gang after you've, like, crossed them somehow. Like, that's, I think, cool. But I just couldn't get over the, like, you're just not going to bring you're going to make it clear to one person that you're not bringing them. Everyone but them goes. And whether they get to go is conditional, and, like, I don't know. It seemed like such a bizarre social dynamic that it's stuck in my craw the whole time.
I can feel it from. Thank you for explicating that. And I'm not trying to minimize your feelings about it, because I'm telling you, I hear you. I think that's reasonable. I had not personally thought about it that way myself, so I'm sort of...
Well, how do you feel about him being excluded from this thing? Because I thought it was bizarre.
Well, I actually took it as face value in I mean, for me, it was forgiven by two things. First off, the whole conversation comes up, right? Because they're like, we have been bending over backwards for Sheldon for, like, the last 2 weeks and have received zero gratitude for it, and in fact a lot of abuse, and we don't, like, what I took this as is basically we're at the point where it's like we need some time away from Sheldon or we're going to drop him. So, because, like, they literally say it's like maybe it's time to take a short break from Sheldon. So I thought that was literally an acknowledgement that, like, hey, the way this has been so bad for, like, the last little period that we need, in order to save this friendship, we need a little time away from this person so that we can appreciate him when we come back, which didn't sound crazy to me, I guess, except in the fact that the whole friend group is doing it without him. But even then...
That's the thing that sounds crazy, is that it's a collective effort.
But they pick something that they know he's not going... Like, to me, the weird part of it is that I thought they were still being kind of sensitive because it's not like they decided to go to Comic-Con or, like, you know, the Star Wars Museum. They decide to go to Las Vegas and engage in a bunch of activities that there's zero evidence that Sheldon would want to do. And it even seems weird that it even seems weird from Sheldon's perspective that he then does want to go, because he starts out by saying, no, that sounds like a horrible thing and I just complained the whole time, but I still insist on being included.
Well, see, I don't, so I feel like he doesn't like totally insist on being included, but that he does take it for granted. And then I think it's just as true also. They didn't give a shit about going. You're right. This is not something that's like we as people who see the show have never seen Sheldon express any interest, nor the kind of things you would do in Vegas, the kind of things that Sheldon would be interested in. But to me, it really is, it's the group thing. Because I'm like, if every single person in the friend group, whether like individually or as couples, or even if like just 4 of them, like any 2 couples, I think could get away with it. Or all the girls, or all the guys but Sheldon, just some other configuration that is like, oh God, that fucking was rough, right? What a tough time. We need to take a break. You know, that makes sense to me. And I think the thing that's strange to me is like, so often it's Sheldon who is like making the blunt reality of the social dynamic clear, where other people like might try to be more polite. And I feel like it's turned around here, where instead of people being like, Sheldon, I mean, you were being a real shit, right? And, you know, I just need to take a little break. I need a little time. But for all of your friends around you to be like, that sucked so bad, we have to have a thank God we're not with you party together. A party that is specifically about you not being there so we can enjoy your lack of presence. That I think is fucked up. Like, that's harumph.
Okay, well, that's, again, I don't want to minimize your feelings about it. I do admit it is the kind of thing, I guess, in the real world, maybe I would see it differently. But also in the real world, if I had pissed all of my friends off so much that they all felt the need to go do something without me, I would take that as like a real moment of reckoning for myself, which he kind of does, but kind of like, it's really hard for him in the episode. And even then at the end, like when he pops out, you know, out of the bathroom or whatever,
in the bus, yeah.
Like what Penny said, that was who I really, she's like, really, you can't give us one weekend away from you? It's like it's what I'm saying is, as the person who is like this sometimes, I understand how hard it must be to be around someone who always insists that you cater to his needs before anyone else's, including your own needs, and then also insists on being omnipresent in everything that you do. So like, it does make sense. Like, basically, he's like,
it's irritatingly demanding a needy friend. No question about that. I just also, again, so it's the open intent and collective intent.
So here's my question, and I think you'll say it's just as bad. But if Sheldon had never found out about it, if somehow they had managed to cover up the fact that they were, is it like, how much of it is the fact that they're throwing it in his face, and how much of it is the fact that they're actually doing it? If they were somehow able to do it and keep it entirely secret, would it be just as bad to you?
It would be just as bad in God's eyes, but it would spare Sheldon because that's the thing, is like, I think in real life, if this were real life, this is an insanely risky move. That if the stakes were higher at the beginning of the episode, that this was the message they wanted to send of like, hey, you're on the outs. And it's like clear. I think it is clear that everyone's like annoyed with him. But that is like, this is basically the trip where we all get together and decide whether we will still be friends with you when we get back. That is how broken we are. Like, that is like a real fucking dramatic thing to happen in a close-knit friend group. And if it were not openly communicated and you had any social awareness and saw that happen, yes, that would be the message I would hope they would receive. But this is the Big Bang Theory, baby. Sheldon's not fucking going anywhere. He's not going to not be on the show next week. And so instead, it's not like I have any belief that like he has to get it together because he knows what's on the line. It's just like everyone is like, man, you suck, and we've got to go do this thing. And in real life, if they were to successfully get away with that and were to have their weekend away with him and no one finds out, I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think that is a mercy deception to like be like, we need this. It would immensely hurt your feelings if the reason we did it was because if you knew that we just needed to break from you, even if that is the reality. And if you ever find out about this trip, it will probably be some sort of betrayal. But if they pull it off, hell yeah, why not? It's just it's the brazenness of all of them together sending the message to Sheldon that I think is wild.
So noted.
Waka waka doo doo, yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't actually disagree with you when you put it like that. Of course, Snake. It's just in the show, they've said some pretty awful things to Sheldon before, and he's done some pretty awful things to them. So the idea that this would be like the place where you really draw the line on their behavior is interesting, but not irrational.
I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to bring up a contrasting example here that hopefully will make my case a bit better. As to this being fucking sociopath behavior is when Wallowitz had like a bad day, or I can't remember if like Bernadette was in the hospital. No, that was a different thing when they sang to her. But okay, so not mixing those two things up. Bernadette having like weird dad insecurity, and everyone also around him did him at least the disservice of saying, one of us in this group knows the truth about whether Wallowitz's dad abandoned him. We don't want him to know, or no, he didn't want to know concretely whether that's the case. And so we are going to represent a pool, almost like an executioner squad, where only one of us has the loaded truth gun, but we're all going to just say what we think is true, and he'll decide which of these bullets hits him in the heart, you know? And that is the mercy they would give Wallowitz, so his feelings wouldn't be too hurt about whether his fucking deadbeat dad that abandoned him and his mom as a kid really loved him or not, you know? They went that far out of their way to hide the truth. But then a couple weeks of Sheldon being snotty-nosed, and the same group of people comes back around and is like, we're taking a bus out of town, and if you're still here when we get back, we might need to have a long talk about it, Sheldon. That's crazy!
All right, so this is a thing that hasn't happened for a while on this show, which maybe the dad episode was the last time, which is one of us reacting, and to be clear, I want to make it's not always Nick, it has definitely been me before, but one of us reacting incredibly emotionally to a situation in the sitcom, and the other person doesn't really get it, but kind of get it, just not fully get it. But isn't it nice that this show can bring this kind of emotion out of us? Really,
well, this isn't even emotion. It is like looking at the norms of social behavior. I will ask this final question on my side. Have you and any group of friends you've ever been in collectively decided this one member of our friend group is unacceptable and we must now make our message clear? Like, has that ever happened?
I mean, not... Are you asking me if, like, I've ever been part of a friend group that's like, we're going to ghost another person?
No, not the ghosting. Because the ghosting is different. The ghosting is leaving without explanation. I'm saying has explained to the person, you're on the shit list. There are 7 of us. One's going to get cut. And the 6 others have already made up their mind. Let's see what happens.
Well, that's not what they said. What they said was, I mean, first off, again, it wasn't clear to me that it was you're right, though. I interpreted it as they hadn't planned on telling him and he found out. But you're right, that's not really how it goes in the episode. That was just somehow, that was the way I had made sense in my head. But you're right, that's not really what happens.
Yeah, it's not like I'm like, poor Sheldon is being devastated. Like, it's not that I relate to Sheldon here. It's that I see a group of people... all of a sudden, all of them but one turning on the last. And that is the thing that I'm like, you people are animals. That's the thing that bothers me.
Well, what if he, like, molested one of them? Then would it be okay?
What if he had, Kyle? That'd be a different conversation, wouldn't it? And okay, here's the thing that the show doesn't even realistically get into. Here's where it makes even less sense. This is a group of like 6 or 7 people all collectively addressing Sheldon's needs when he's got sick. How much of a burden could it have been? He's in bed. Like, they're bringing him soup and he's going, blah! And they say, I never want to see you again. I can't. This reality is disturbing to me.
I understand. And I promise, as your friend, I will never treat you this way or be part of any group that treats you this way.
This is the thing I also need to make clear. You're saying I'm getting emotional about this. I'm saying this isn't something I think would ever happen. This isn't something if my group of friends did this to me, I'd say, thank God. I didn't know I was part of the cannibal club. I'm glad that I can move on where, like, I won't wake up one day and be like, oh, I was too fucking sassy when I wasn't feeling well, and they all decided that they're leaving me to rot.
Well, I could be wrong about this. The most risk I'm taking in this is, I feel like if you told me that like a group of girlfriends like all had a secret meeting where they were like, and then like presented the results of that secret meeting to the last friend and been like, you're on the outs with the rest of us now, that would actually not sound crazy to me. It sounds crazy for like a mixed group or a group of just guys to do it, because guys don't really like talk about their feelings and their friend dynamic that way.
Yeah.
But I've definitely like heard women spend a bunch of time talking about like, boy, Patricia's energy has really been fucking with the rest of us lately and making it hard to have a good time. We should do something about this. So. Well,
and this is where like I worry about it like crossing into like too broad of sexist territory, but women, right? I mean, come on. That's normal behavior. That kind of fucking catty hierarchical.
I'm just saying, depending on like how you articulate your emotions and think about your group dynamics, it seems like a thing that could happen.
I don't know.
But probably not a bunch of like down home Montana boys or a bunch of chill LA people. Neither one of those two groups.
Yeah, I think there's this entire breadth of humanity that exists until you get on the fringes of, mean girls deciding to collectively excommunicate anyone because that is acceptable middle school behavior. Yeah. Or adults that are just trying to fucking maintain, Like, if anything, I'm someone in real life who gets upset when these kinds of dynamics are quietly upheld, when there is someone who is so obviously a problem that no one will deal with. But then I see an episode like this where it's like, oh, well, if we lived like that, it would be disgusting.
Well, there you go. I'm glad. I rescind all of my takes.
You don't have to. We can have differing opinions on this. I just want to make real fucking clear.
Too uncomfortable for me. We have to agree.
Okay, well, if we do disagree, which we do, because I know you're only agreeing because of your discomfort, I now know that I'm on notice. If suddenly I'm hanging out a lot with you and approximately 5 other people, that I gotta be on my best behavior, which, to be fair, is how I feel when I am in any group. So, I mean, I don't know.
So the closest I ever came to this happening to me is when I was a child. I was kicked out of the Boy Scouts, and it was actually a case of like the Scoutmaster talking to my parents and being like, we've talked amongst ourselves and the other kids, and your kid's just too fucking weird for our group, man. He's got to go home and not come back.
Well, and I'm thinking now that, and I didn't mean to like break open this whole fucking social discussion, but here in my town of Missoula, I think I was soft canceled there for a bit. Because my friendship with a dynamic, beloved personality ended. And that to me was like, oh, right, this is what it's like when a bunch of people all just kind of decide he's not wanted anymore. And I can also now speak from experience. Yeah, that did fucking suck. Ugh. But I also came out the other end and said, well, all those people are awful, right? Like, that was... And then so I see these friends, and I'm like, are they your friends, Sheldon?
Yeah, that's no offense, but I was thinking about that and how that happened to you, and I was wondering if that's where this was coming from.
I wasn't thinking about that at all. I think, I think theoretically I find it troubling, and then we get to the end of it, and I'm like, wait a second, I did experience that, and I'm right. This isn't a self-reaffirming behavior. This is society, I understand how it's supposed to work, and then when it doesn't, I get upset. That's my most neurodivergent trait, is not that I can't conform to societal expectations, much less, to be clear, I can't. But if someone doesn't, I'm like, well, you are breaking the rules, right? Like, that's not how you treat a person, even if that's what I would do.
All right.
Oh.
That was pretty good, actually. I enjoyed that conversation.
We should talk about things we enjoy, which aren't having conversations.
Yeah, one more thing, though. I just want to say the only other interesting part of this episode to me was like the first 20 seconds. And mostly, it's not that interesting in how they present it or whatever. I was wondering if the Big Bang Theory was ever even going to acknowledge the shift. And then they kind of did for the first time in this episode, which is the episode starts with like Penny and Bernadette and whoever Raj's girlfriend, Emily. Yeah. AKA the normie girls. And they're like, can you believe they're making a movie Batman v Superman? How is Batman going to beat Superman? He's just a guy and Superman has superpowers. And then Bernadette's like, I don't know, maybe Batman uses kryptonite. And Emily's like, yeah, or maybe he builds a big suit and uses that to give him like Superman-like powers. And Penny is like, what, like Iron Man? And the other nerds are watching that and they're just like, something has happened.
Awe, yeah.
Yeah, something has changed. And I remember, like, I think I talked about it on this show, like, the first time that happened to me, which is I was checking out of a grocery store. You know, I had, like, an Iron Man tote bag, and the lady who was checking me out, who, you know, for all I know, maybe she was, like, a huge nerd who reads a bunch of comics and everything else. She just didn't really give me that vibe, but she was still like, you think they're going to bring Iron Man back from the dead? Or maybe like because, you know, I really miss him. Maybe they could bring back like a multiversal variant or like use some kind of time travel thing to bring him back. And I was like, is this the conversations everyone is having now? Is everyone now having the conversations that I used to have, like among like my very niche friend group? Like, you know, only about comic books? This is just how normal people talk now?
I think it's becoming more okay. I think the nerd who would normally count on there being a 99% chance that they would ask about an Iron Man thing and another adult would look at them and be like, oh no, this is my kid's bag. What the fuck are you talking about? That risk is reduced recently thanks to, you know, nerd culture for better and then obviously for worse is dominating pop culture. But then, I don't know, did you follow up with your three gatekeeping questions to make sure that she was authentic and you weren't having some sort of trick conversation with a poser?
I asked her to name me the top 3 Iron Man arcs written since 2000, and she didn't even mention Extremis by Warren Ellis, you know, or the excellent run that what's that guy's? Man, I ruined my own bit because now I can't remember the guy's name.
Nerd humor is fucking hard. You got to be so specific and quick. But also, your experiences is reminding me of something that I felt like a little frustrated.
Matt Fraction, son of a bitch.
Oh yeah,
Matt Fraction had an incredible fucking run on with the bleeding edge armor that they introduced into the Iron Man comic book universe. So anyway. But nice. No, they didn't know about any of that. So I took some things out of my shopping cart and improvised a flamethrower weapon and burned her at the stake as
that sounds right. That's good. No, I think maybe I brought this up once on the show. I'm glad you had that interaction because I wasn't like shocked when this happened. I was like a little surprised, but the fact that happened to you does make it seem more normal. I was saying to friends IRL Liz and Mike about how I'd bought a copy of Dune because after the new Dune movies came out, I was like, I'm finally gonna actually really truly read this fucking thing. And so I got a new copy, went next door to the coffee shop to get coffee. And when I was getting that, like the lady at the coffee shop was like, oh, hey, Dune. But, you know, not just because it's like a movie, but she's like, oh, hey, yeah, did you like know anything about like the failed Dune movie and the artist that worked on it and all these comics he did?
Andre Jodorowsky and Mobius?
Exactly. That is exactly it. And trying to talk like Liz and Mike, and I'm like, oh yeah, this lady started talking to me about Dune, and she's like, why are you bothering girls at coffee shops? And I'm like, no.
She was bothering me.
Yeah, that was like trying to make clear. It's like, I don't think you understand, and I'm offended. No, I'm not the guy that gets the nerd thing and goes out and tries to like hit on nerd girls. I'm the guy who apparently is approachable enough to have like a natural nerd interaction with a lady, and you know, feeling they made that seem bizarre, and that you had a similar interaction. I'm like, no, we could just be normal nerd guys who have nerd talks with people, and it's not a crazy thing that happens outside of I don't know. That's a thing that I took personally, I guess. That all that hullabaloo about the friend group, that is pure philosophy. But this goddamn thing about this lady at this coffee shop made me mad. Now what are we talking about?
Tell me what's making you happy this week. What's your nerd thing of the week?
Well, I'll do that, because I'm feeling particularly inspired. And this morning, hey, here's behind the curtain thing for the listeners. I don't know if you've noticed over the years, if you've been around that long, we don't really like the show. And so actually watching it is the chore part. And coincidentally, we will, Kyle and I will message each other to be like, well, it's time to record. Better get that friggin' that chore out of the way. But today, I was like, oh yeah, fuck it, I guess I'll just watch this thing, right? And then Kyle, I find out that you do the same thing. And it was particularly noteworthy for me today, because not only is that something I think neither of us other do, but part of my thought was, oh, there's this thing I enjoyed and I really want to talk about. I'm looking forward to that. Guess I better eat my spinach. I guess I better put on my stupid fucking podcast fuel. Which, by the way, if you want to have conversations where we only listen to our conversations where we only talk about the things we enjoy and not the grueling other discussions, patreon.com/TBBTT. That's the Big Bang Theory. Patreon.com/TBBTT. And so I'm recommending two things, both of which I'm going to be very sparing in details, because I think going into them cold is part of the reason that I'm recommending them. Well, actually, no, I take back one of those. I saw 28 Years Later last night. And the part I take back is it'd probably be helpful to see at least the first movie. I don't think this is a spoiler because it happens within like the first 10 seconds. That second movie basically didn't happen, so you don't have to watch that one if you don't want to. Which, by the way,
they retcon it?
They don't retcon it. It's in the opening text. There's like one screen of text to like catch you up. So I actually recently rewatched 28 Weeks Later, and it's fine. I don't think it's great, but it's not bad. And it ends with... It
does reinforce that Jeremy Renner has played the same character in every movie he's ever been in, which is kind of weird.
No, so I saw it when it came out, and I didn't know who Jeremy Renner was yet. And then watching it again more recently, and yeah, seeing him in that and being like, buddy, I like you, but you're just like the plain dude in every movie, aren't you? You're just like you're just kind of like the likable guy who's like relatable, and you know, you're handsome, but you're not like overwhelmingly scary handsome. And
you're competent, but not competent enough to actually like turn the tide in anyone's favor.
Exactly. Which, by the way, that's his thing in 28 Weeks Later. He's like the soldier trying to help the other civilians, and so he's like the only thing that can actually ward off zombies. But of course, he can't survive because he's not the guy. But so anyway, that movie ends with a shot of. So the idea is that like I guess I will do a little bit more explainer and then cut it off. Which is for anyone who isn't aware, as wasn't the guy I bought my ticket from last night. He didn't even know this was the third movie in a series.
Wild.
Yeah, and not because he's like ignorant or anything. He's just a young person, right? And that's the first movie came out in the early 2000s, and
God, we're old.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was in my late teens when that movie came out, but if you're a young person now, that movie came out when you were literally a baby. And that's something where...
Or not alive yet.
Well, yeah. And that's something where, because, god damn it, I just have this charisma and attraction and this really, really obvious degree of immaturity where I keep dating younger people. Over and over, I'm like, shit, what can I talk about, like, without making them give me, like,
women
the sad
in their early
grandpa
20s
look.
just really, you have a special emotional connection with them.
Hey. That's fucked up. Late 20s, Kyle. Late 20s. Not getting into mid-20s, that'd be weird. That'd be weird. But these late 20s, once their brains are cooked, but once they don't realize they have better options, that's where I'm at, baby. But anyway, so the first movie came out in the early 2000s, and the basic premise is, it's not... Apparently Danny Boyle doesn't consider these zombie movies, and I remember there was discussion.
Fuck off.
Well, hold on a second. I'm being slightly older than you. I am going to pull rank here, which is, I think right now they are absolutely accepted as zombie movies. But in the beginning, everyone was like, well, zombies can't run. That's like such a fundamental characteristic of zombies that like, that's the thing, like, if they're able to like chase you, they're just like scary people. That's not a zombie, right? And then, you know, whatever Danny Boyle's intention was, the movies are like, oh, well, scary people chasing you is actually way fucking scarier than slow ones. Who'd have thunk it? What are the zombies? I guess they were just slow people all along, right? Geez, what a revelation. But that's really the thing, is that they call it the rage virus, and they are effectively zombies, except unlike traditional zombies, Danny Boyle zombies are so insanely aggressively violent that they are constantly just running, trying to tear apart and consume everything. Like, so they're your amphetamine zombies. And so the first movie, everything is contained to the United Kingdom. Something you kind of learn near the end is like, oh, this apocalyptic outbreak is only in the United Kingdom. The rest of the world actually seems pretty normal. We've just been abandoned. And then the second movie follows up on that, which is like, okay, enough time has passed now that all the zombies must surely have died. They have some sort of starvation point. We've crossed it. It is safe to return to the island. Flip-de-doo, whoop, it isn't. And so that's the second movie. And the second movie ends with zombies crossing onto the mainland. Like, the very last shot is zombies running out of a tunnel up towards the Eiffel Tower. And so the beginning of the third movie, in one screen of text, says, the outbreak was, like, pushed back out of mainland Europe and like pushed back to the United Kingdom. And it's like, okay, like, that's good. I'm glad Europe figured it out, and we're back to just the islands. Like, the second movie was kind of dumb, and like, you know, that they reset it, I don't mind. But so, and again, I'll probably stop here because I don't want to reveal much more about it. The premise about this one is it starts in Scotland, and it's 28 years later, and the people there are still trying to survive. And it focuses on, at least initially, a kid and his dad who, like, they're living in a village that is living in the reality of, we are, like, living a pretty agrarian life now because, you know, we're still fully evolved modern day humans, but we are now like wilderness people cut off from humanity. And wouldn't you know it, one of the wild animals out there now is zombies. So that's kind of like the world it's set in. And I won't say anything more because I do want the rest of it to be fresh. But the reason I really want to bring it up is, like, no notes. I thought it was great. I just, like, the people, I went with two other people. They both thought it was a little too long. I don't agree. I just thought I thought it was great through and through. The only annoyance I have, and I don't know if this was ever clear from the marketing, which I actively avoided, it is a part one. And that, to get to the end of...
Oh, yeah. I had no idea.
Okay, well, that I'm actually relieved to hear that, because I don't think it's obvious. I think it's another fucking switcheroo.
No, in fact, it's the opposite of obvious. This very much, you know, to me, who think of this as like a trilogy of movies, very much thought that this was like going to be like the final say on this universe.
No, I absolutely did too, and it's really my only complaint, and it's not a huge complaint because I'm gonna watch the next one, and who knows if it'll be as good. Because that's the thing. Like
what are they? What are they even going to call it? Are they going to call it 28 years later 2 or 29?
I've already looked it up actually, and I think it's called like the Bone Palace or something like that.
Oh, that's even. That's so annoying.
And these are filmed together, back-to-back sequels. And you said trilogy. I might have to double check. This might even be the first of 3. This might be the new trilogy, but I'm hoping it's just a back-to-back.
See, I don't like that because it turns... I'm sorry. No,
I don't either. No, that's the problem. Like,
other than that, it's a good movie, though, you're saying.
That's why I put the caveat in there at all, is like, I really thought it was great. And it wasn't. It's exact same issue I had with what is the second? Is it Into the Spider-Verse or Beyond?
Yeah.
Whatever the second Spider-Man animated movie.
Across the Spider-Verse, maybe.
Like, I have no complaints about that movie, and then you get to the very end, and I'm like, well, fuck. Like, I'll at least say 28 Days Later, if, for instance, this were, like, a tremendous, like, financial flop, which I don't think it is, and it's not going to get its sequel or whatever, I think it holds its own as a movie. But it's also makes it very clear that, like, well, and also because I read the Wikipedia that, yeah, it's a part one. And so going into that without, like, I think that softens the blow of the frustration, but I would still absolutely recommend it. That's the whole reason, like, I only watched the Dead Reckoning Mission Impossible the other night because I actively avoided it, because that's another movie where I think when it first came out, it wasn't obviously a part one. And then, after it's released, it's like, oh, well, now it's Dead Reckoning Part 1, isn't it? Because now everyone knows you've... So that's the only minor annoyance. But, I mean, really, aside from that, I thought it was lovely. And then the other thing, because I've been talking too long already, I wanted to give a short recommendation anyway, is I've started playing, because it was a free game on PlayStation Plus, so that's the reason to go for it too, No More Heroes 3, which I haven't even played the first two. And I guess there's some spin-offs. Haven't played any of them. I've always just been kind of aware of them. And here's what I'm recommending this one, is that this caveat is that it's janky. It's not like, it doesn't even feel like a AAA game. I don't think it is. It's made by Suda Goichi, aka Suda51, who I was trying to describe to Paul Rowe. Like, my understanding is that he always makes incredibly brilliant, creative, wacky games that are always like B minuses. Like, the ideas are there, but whatever reason, like, the development never comes together in a way that makes, like, a superb game. And that's how this one feels too.
Yeah, I think just playing any of his games, you get the sense that, like, oh, he has severe, like, ADHD or something, and he just cares so much more about, like, seeing some version of his concept executed than he does about, like, the slow grinding out of all of, like, the little mechanical details and particulars.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's like, I was frustrated when I started playing it because specifically the mechanics were kind of sloppy, because, again, I've played none of these other games. I don't know if this one is anything like the rest of them. But your name is Travis Touchdown. You're an otaku, but you also are part of the, like, Intergalactic Assassins League, and the only way that you can survive is by killing other assassins. And it's the stupidest, most, like, over-the-top, ridiculous anime thing. Well, I guess mostly anime. Japanese culture. He's an otaku. If you don't know what an otaku is, I'm not going to explain it because you're not listening to this podcast. But it's a thought I had, which I maintain, is that this is a game that has made me feel most like what it is to experience taking, like, a fundamentally mind-altering drug. Like, it's just a sensation of, like, I don't know what any of this is. And not only do I not know what's happening, but it's, like, so confusing and overwhelming that I can't rely on anything I did know to, like, measure my expectations. Sometimes I don't know if these things are supposed to be happening. I don't know if they're supposed to make sense. It's just such, like, a bizarre, overwhelming collage of ideas and interests and everything that alone for me is, like, worth playing it. That it is, like, such, like, a standout, unique vision, even if... Well, and here's another thing I'll say, too, and then I'll stop, is the fundamental gameplay of it gets kind of grindy. It's eventually, like, a over-the-shoulder, third-person action fighting game where every single fight, like, they put you in, like, a square arena with some objects, and you fight, like, 2 or 3 baddies that are almost like stock. But even that, like, I'm into it now. Like, I went from, like, thinking it was kind of simple and annoying to being like, oh shit, they put those 2 guys together? That's gonna be crazy. Whoa! And then that it has just, like, in between these fights that are somehow becoming more satisfying to me as the game goes along. Everything else about it is just so ridiculous that, like, that's what is engaging. And so, yeah, it's like, again, I'm not going to change my B- game, like, opinion, but it's like a must play B- game, I think. So, yeah, see the new 28 Days Later, 28 years later, knowing that you're gonna leave a little unsatisfied intentionally, and then play No More Heroes 3 if you're just fucking bored of video games and want something crazy. Kyle, your turn.
Okay, so I like to spin mine off of yours sometimes when I don't have any ideas. First, I will say the thing that's really making me happy this week, the thing, if I'm being dead honest, that's making me happy, as I was telling Nick before we started the podcast, is my wife was at a thrift store getting stuff like, a Goodwill style place, getting stuff that actually, we needed for our new place. And she just stopped and she was like, I wonder if Kyle would like that. And that in question was a re-release, I think, because what's crazy about this is from the box that it came in. I can tell this toy was only released a few years ago, but it is, down to my sense memory, an exact replica of the Megatron Tyrannosaurus Rex Beast Wars Transformer that I desperately wanted when I was a kid. And I should clarify, I was a spoiled child. So it's not like I was ever denied anything. It was more like, I got so much stuff that I asked for that sometimes I forgot to ask for things, even if I really wanted them. So boo-hoo, no, don't feel bad for me, obviously. But that being said...
Quick interjection, too. For people who aren't listening to the Patreon stuff, Kyle did recently get in deep over...
Yeah, it's been a hyperfixation for a minute.
Well, so that's why I'm clarifying, is people who don't listen to that would have no idea. This is not a non sequitur. We've gone thorough discussion over the the Transformers IDW comic book series. And so, hey, patreon.com/TBBTT. And now, Kyle, you have the real 3D thing to hold on to.
Yeah, this is how much my wife loves me, is she not only listens to enough of my rambling nerd bullshit to at least clock, oh, he's been in kind of a Transformers kick lately, and then when she's like, that is a Transformer that turns into a giant purple T-Rex, he's autistic enough that he likes dinosaurs, he's into Transformers, I should probably take this, I bet he'll like it. And then my reaction has been just like fucking over the moon, because yes, I was like, oh my god, it's like I'm 10 years old again. It again, just if it is Megatron, but it's not the Megatron that turns into a tank, or the Megatron who
Beast
turns
Wars
into
Megatron,
a gun.
baby.
Yeah. Technically, canonically, not even the same Megatron, just a different robot who also called himself Megatron, I think is an homage to the original, and had a similar personality. But no, this one was leader of the Predacons, and not the Decepticons, and when he crashed on Earth, all the Predacons took like weird, mostly creepy insects and like bugs and things, but not him. He was like, I'm going full T-Rex, baby, which is... just awesome. Was just an awesome choice. Good for him. And so even though he's a bad guy, he's a big purple T-Rex, fully articulated, beautifully transformable. I love it. I play with it all the time. It is making me really happy. So that's where I'm really at mentally. But that's not a recommendation, because I don't know where you would get one of these. So
I don't know. I mean, like, our recommendations, do they have to be literally achievable? Like, I feel like especially sometimes you've seen plays where like either of us has been to like a screening of something that's going to be pretty inaccessible.
That's fair.
You can just recommend fucking loving cool toys that are Transformers dinosaurs. Yeah,
so we'll say that. In fact, we'll stop there. I was going to give my whole 2 cents on like the zombie discourse and some stuff from that fiction that I like, but it's fine. There will always, I'm sure we'll end up talking about
that could be our next bonus thing, is because I don't know, like maybe that'd be a good thing to talk about, is zombie movies. Even though they're not like deepest in my heart, they are something that I really enjoy and have feelings about, and obviously you do too, if we're trying to like...
Well, what's interesting... Zombie movies, I could take or leave. Zombie literature, I have gotten really into before. So you give me a good book about a zombie virus, and I will eat that shit up.
Waka, waka, waka. Well, let's end on this. No matter what you do, whether you play a game or buy a toy or see a movie, Ralph Fiennes is a funny orange man in the newest 28 Years Later. Let's all just recognize that Ralph Fiennes is the best, right? He's great.
I also heard that one of the zombies has an enormous dong. Is that true?
Kyle, there were parts of the movie especially after meeting Funny Orange Ray Fiennes, where I was like really hoping he would say something about it. Like I was hoping Ray Fiennes' character would say to somebody, be like, "You've noticed that one has a troublingly enormous hog." Like it's one thing to have like unkillable zombies running around that are going to devour your flesh. It's another thing to not be able to like focus on your own survival because you just see this flopping beast that you didn't know a real human person could have. Maybe they can't. Maybe that's a zombie feature, but it's huge. But it's also, tiny other thing. I love that it's full of flopping dongs, because that's a thing where like that seems like such a silly nudity standard to me that you can have. Because it's not that dongs are floppy that you can't show them, because titties can be floppy and they're out. It's just like this other level of like abstract puritanism that like, the penis is like the last line. And so not only are they everywhere, because why wouldn't they be if you have a bunch of naked people running around? But yeah, apparently they picked a winner, So